Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Hi, everyone. I hope everyone's having a good day. We'll be starting this English lesson about spare time activities in about 37 seconds. Let me just double check to make sure everything is working properly. It usually is, but you never know. Maybe I clicked the wrong button somewhere or something like that. That has happened before. Maybe I actually did click the wrong button. I don't know. Oh, I think it's going to start working now. So we'll start in about 12 seconds from now. 5, 4, 3, 2. Well, hello and welcome to this English lesson where I'm going to talk about things that people do in their spare time activities. If you're wondering what spare time is, it's the time when you're not working. It's the time when you're not eating. It's the time when you're not sleeping. It's the time when you're not running errands or doing chores. It's the time where you can do whatever you want to do. Some of us have a lot of spare time. Some of us don't have a lot of spare time. But when you do, it's fun to think of things to do in your spare time. And in this English lesson, I'll help you learn how to talk about the things you do, the activities you do in your spare time. Well, hello and welcome, everyone. It's good to see a lot of familiar faces. Let me double check to make sure things are working right. I think they are. Yes, everything is working great. Hi to John and Freddie and Kaka Chen and Shaobib and Rug by Labrioshi, Andras, Joe Wilson, Hockey, Lanita, Rodolfo, Tomic, Lolly, Etienne, Fritz, Key Park, Igathan Barak, Pedro, Joe Wilson. I think I've said a few names twice. Andras. Let me scroll back here. John Wedge and everyone else who is here. Hello to Ruslan, and I think I've gotten most of the names, but hello, everyone. I hope you're having a good day. So this is a lesson where I'm going to talk about things you do in your spare time. If you have questions during the lesson, don't forget that you can use the link in the description to ask the question, or Nightbot will occasionally put the link over here. And I was going to check something this time. I realized that I might be able to do this. If I say !link, and then I think I can pin this to the top. Maybe we'll have more questions in this live stream if the link is pinned to the top the entire time. Hopefully it's not in your way. Anyways, please use the chat to have fun, interesting English conversations with the other people who are here. Again, if you have a question, use the link. And I think we should maybe get this lesson started. If you're wondering, why is Bob talking about spare time activities? It's because in the winter, Jen and I tend to have a little more spare time. In January and February, Jen is less busy on the farm, and I'm kind of less busy at school. So sometimes some of the things from this list we actually do. But again, welcome to this English lesson. Let's get started. I think I've done everything that I was supposed to do. Actually, I forgot to hit record. So give me a minute. I'm going to redo the intro. It's going to sound kind of weird, but I do need a recording of the intro for the shorter version of the lesson. So here we go. Well, hello and welcome to this English lesson about spare time activities. Spare time activities are the things we do when we have extra time. The things we do when we're not working or sleeping or doing chores or running errands or eating. I think I said sleeping already. The time when you can just do something that you want to do. So I'll give you a lot of examples. By the way, I'm doing this lesson because Jen and I have more spare time in the winter. So I was thinking of the things we might do in January and February, and I put together an English lesson for you. So once again, welcome to this English lesson about activities and things you can do in your spare time. Hey, thanks for letting me do that. It's not often we do the double intro, but I'm not sure if you knew this, but I record the lesson as I'm doing the lesson, and then I repackage it in a smaller version so that I can put it out in a couple of days for people to watch, to review. I take all of the viewer questions out. So anyways, Awesome. Thanks for letting me do that. Hopefully that was my only mistake of the morning. Let's get started. Volunteer. If you have spare time, you can volunteer. I know people like my mom who are retired, they sometimes decide to volunteer. When you volunteer, it means you work, but you don't get paid. And you usually work on something that benefits your town or other people or an organization in your community. These people, it looks like they've decided to volunteer to clean up this area. It looks like people have thrown their garbage and trash on the ground. And so these people have decided in their spare time to volunteer to help clean up this area. So one of the things you can do if you have spare time is you can volunteer. You can give of your time. That's another way we say it in English. And there are many places where you can volunteer. You can volunteer at a thrift store. You can volunteer to help clean things up. You can volunteer to help organize a bake sale to raise money for something. There are many things you can do to help your town or an organization or people in your town. You could run for office. This is not one that I'm going to do this winter. I have no plans to run for office, but sometimes people who have spare time, they think, oh, maybe I should run for office. Maybe I will be a councillor in my local town. Maybe I'll run for mayor. So this is the phrase we use to run for office. I'm not sure how your country works, but here you can be mayor, you can be city councillor, you can be a regional councillor. There's all different levels of government. And if you want to, you can decide to run for office. And you can hopefully get enough votes so people put you in. By the way, it does say vote Bob for mayor. I'm not planning to run for mayor. You could join a club. So you might have thought this lesson was going to be about all of the different hobbies and things you can do in your spare time. It's a little more general than that. So you can definitely join a club. There are many types of clubs in the world. You could join an English learning club if you could find one. You could join a book club like these people. You might be able to join, let me see, I'm trying to think. I've recently started doing archery. So that's like with a bow and arrow. I could maybe this winter join an archery club, and then I would be with other people who like the same thing as me. But if you have lots of spare time, you could join a club. You could take up a hobby. You could decide to go and buy a kite and learn to fly a kite. There are many hobbies in the world. You could learn how to play new games. You could, you could learn to do a little bit of, maybe you want to learn how to do crafting, like you want to be able to make things out of paper and glue. There are many things. You could start collecting stamps. That would be a hobby. But once again, if you have spare time, if you have a lot of free time, I'm not sure who has this much time because I certainly don't have a lot of spare time, but you could take up a hobby. And that's the phrase we use. You take up a hobby. You could join a gym. This is very common in January in Canada and in North America, and I'm sure in most parts of the world. Many people on New Year's Eve will decide to make a New Year's resolution to work out and to get in shape. And in order to do that, they might join a gym. We have, excuse me, we have a local gym in our town, and I'm sure memberships go up in the month of January. And then probably people slowly stop going to the gym in March or April. But if you have spare time, you might join a gym in order to build some muscle, maybe to run and improve your cardiovascular health, your heart health. And you might, maybe you'll stick it out. Maybe you'll go for a whole year. You might take a night class. Now, some of you might actually be in this situation. Maybe you work all day. Maybe you're in school all day, but you still take a night class, a class that happens at night. Around here, night classes usually start around 7 or 7:30 p.m., maybe as late as 8 p.m., and they're about an hour to 3 hours long. You might be taking an English night class, but there are all types of night classes. I know people used to take computer night classes 10 or 15 years ago when computers were still new for older people. So you might, at that time, you would take a night class in order to learn more about it. Here in my part of Canada, there's a mailing that comes from the local college with a list of adult night classes that you can take where you can improve. Maybe you want to learn Italian, maybe you want to improve your English, maybe you want to learn a new skill. You can take a night class in order to do that. Maybe you just need to catch up on things. Maybe you've been really busy for a period of time and you're behind on laundry. You're behind on paying the bills. You're behind on getting the house ready for winter if you're in Canada, and you just need to catch up on things. This happens to Jen and I sometimes. In the fall, from September until the end of October, we're both really busy. Jen is really busy on the farm and I'm really busy at school. So in November, we start to catch up on things. Maybe we're behind on the laundry. And there's other little things. I'm sure that you have a similar situation sometimes where you're just a little bit behind. You might deep clean something. So we keep our house relatively clean. We vacuum, we do the dishes, we do laundry. We keep the rooms in our house as tidy as possible. But sometimes we just want to do a deep clean. This means you really clean the room. Like you move all the furniture when you vacuum. You wash the windows. You dust all of the areas where maybe you didn't dust before, like on top of the picture frames. You might, when you do a deep clean, you might dust there. But you can see this lady is ready to do a deep clean. She has a garbage bag. She is just cleaning things up. She's wearing her cleaning gloves and an apron. She's ready to do a deep clean. So again, this is a little more than just your regular weekly cleaning. This is where you spend a couple hours in one room making it as clean as possible. Hey, let's do some questions here. I also forgot to open my folder of slides. So let me open that for a sec so that I know where I am. Where is that? What letter are we on? I think we are on S, spare time activities. There we go. Oh, I think I'm keeping good time. So let me have a sip of water and I will answer some questions. And let me double check to make sure that the live stream is working properly. Yes, it is working. It's a little quiet. Oh, that's just me. Okay. Okay, here we go. Questions from all of you. From Ruslan, hello, dear teacher Bob. If my spare time activity is hiking to find the best chocolate spots, I'm a fitness enthusiast or just highly motivated by dessert. One, yeah, probably both. Yeah, definitely. That's an excellent way to do things. It's good to reward yourself for doing something that maybe is difficult, or even something you don't want to do. So yes, I would say you're both. You are both of those things. Kurdish. Hi, Uncle Bob. In your spare time, do you put your feet up or are you still grafting on the farm? So we right now are a little less busy than normal, but it isn't really a time where we have lots of spare time yet. That usually happens in January and February. So Jen is still busy on the farm. I'm still helping a bit. This past week, we took anything that could freeze out inside, like the water pump, irrigation pumps and stuff. But soon we will put our feet up for sure. Denis. Hello, Bob. Worm charming, dirt polishing, geocaching, soap carving, toy voyaging, extreme ironing, tree shaping, and what's the most unusual hobby you've ever taken up? I don't know. I collected rocks when I was a kid. Right now I'm doing a bit of archery. You can see I have 2 bows now. I bought a better one. Oh, you can't see them in the corner. I'll put that here. So that is something that I've been enjoying. That's not unusual though. That's just I think a fun thing to do. And it's actually exercise. So that's fun as well. Yeah, I think the strangest hobby I think I know about is people, I always find it strange when people collect dolls, but I'm sure there's probably people in the chat who collect dolls, but it's not something I would do. From Yasmin, Bob, do you need a video editor to your short or for short videos? No, I just never get into making shorts, and I don't work well with others. That's a good English phrase to learn. I work best by myself. I don't work well with others. It's very challenging for me. It's why I'm a teacher. As a teacher, I'm the only person in my classroom. I don't have to work with other people. Now, I do team teach a class, and I work really well with those teachers right now. But yeah, I'm just going to say no. Someday, maybe I'll do it myself a bit, but not now. Nadim, Uncle Bob, what would you choose if you were given the option to choose between underwater diving, skydiving, or ziplining or paragliding? Underwater diving. It seems safer to me. I could put on my scuba gear, my tanks, and my mask, and my breathing apparatus. All of the other ones involve heights, so I would avoid them. I would not enjoy them. From Ranjesh, I do shadowing 1 hour, talk to stranger 1 hour, and watching 1 hour of movies per my winter arc challenge. Am I doing it right, or am I doing something right? Yeah, so you're speaking by doing shadowing. You're listening and speaking by talking to a stranger. You're listening by watching a movie. What you're not doing is reading or writing. So I would add that in. By the way, you can add the reading and writing to the shadowing part, because you can read when you're shadowing if you use the subtitles or a transcript. And you can also write out. You can copy is one simple way of of doing it. I'm just laughing at Hafia saying Bob only works well with Nightbot. Yeah, I can work well with Brent from American English with Brent. Brent and I have met a few times in real life, and we work really well together. But that's rare for me. I mean, I can work well with other people, but I like working by myself. It's my preferred way of working. It's very efficient. Abdirahman. Hi, Teacher Bob. Hope you are having a great day. I want to ask you, what is the best way I could increase my English vocabulary? Lessons like this that you're watching now, but even better than this would be reading. I just think reading is a great way to learn new vocabulary. So a lot of off-topic questions. Let's keep them on topic, people, so we finish on time. Ahmad asking about the TFEL exam. How can we study for this exam? Because it's very hard for non-native English speakers. And thank you. I would go to Preply. There's a link in the description below. And I would hire an English tutor who specializes in helping people prepare for TOEFL or IELTS or any type of English test. That person will guide you in how you need to practice, and they might even be familiar with that test. From Fatima, hi Bob, hope you are fine. I'm confused around the word could. What is correct? Could you please speak slower, or can you please speak slower? Both work. And to soften it, you might say, sorry, I'm having trouble understanding you. Would you be able to speak a bit slower? Could you speak a bit slower? Can you speak a bit slower? The first version, would you be able to speak a bit slower, is very polite. Could you speak a bit slower is also polite, but not as polite. And then can you speak slower is quite direct. It does mean the same thing though, and people would be fine. We often use, sorry, let me rephrase this. We often don't know whether someone said can or could because we say it so fast. Can you pass me the salt? Could you pass me the salt? So in the first sentence, I said, can you pass me the salt? In the second one, I said, could you? But if I say it quickly, can you pass me the salt? Could you pass me the salt? It's a very slight change. Same meaning, exactly the same meaning. From Peter, hi, Mr. Wise Man. How are you today? Your live stream is unique today. If I had spare time, I would take a night class to be good at writing essays and novels. Thanks. That would be a good class. Take a night class where you practice your English writing. Hey, if you're one of the 308 people watching, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. You can read more about my channel below. I think there's a description down there, but I'm Bob the Canadian. I teach English here on YouTube, and welcome. Brent says, I'm sure if we worked together for an entire school year, it would be difficult. I can't stand team teaching in the classroom. One person usually does all the work, not enough planning time. I always say to students, Brett, group work is the same in high school, in grade school, when you're an adult. It's always the same. I think if you and I worked too closely on something, we would naturally start to get a little aggravated with each other. But I think our personalities would help us get through it. But I agree with you. I think many teachers become teachers because working on a team, it's not that we don't like it. It's that we prefer working by ourselves more. Does that make sense? Like, I can work on a team, but I really enjoy thinking, planning, teaching my class by myself. Like, that is enjoyable. Let's see here. We'll do one more question and we'll get back to the lesson. I got to get them on the screen. That was very informal, by the way. I got to get them on the screen. Irina, hi, Teacher Bob. What would you call it when you go for a long walk in the woods, fields, hills, but not in the mountains? Does hiking refer to that as well? Thank you. Yes. So for me, hiking is any time I am not on a sidewalk, I'm not on pavement. If I am on any kind of path, even if I'm just walking across grass, I would call it hiking. It also depends whether you're in nature or not. So I don't think I would go for a hike in a city park. I would probably call it a walk. But if I'm somewhere where there's trees and I'm far from cars and the noise of traffic, if I'm out in nature, that's what makes it a hike for me. And then we usually give it a level, like, oh, that was a level 1. Last week, Friday, I went on a hike and it was with students, and I would say it was a level 1. It was there wasn't much up and down, and it was very easy. Okay, let me see here in the chat. Rugby Lover says, I enjoy rugby club and joining a gym. In the gym, I'm learning English. Yeah, that's cool that you can double up. You can work out and learn some English at the same time. My English master is also from Canada. I'm poor at listening, and what should I do to get it better? Yeah, listen more, but listen actively. Like, especially if you're working out with someone, when they tell you what to do, you do what they say. That way you're hearing it, understanding it, and doing the action. That's a good way to remember things. Okay, let's get back to the lesson here. Deep clean. Where are we at? There we go. You might decide to reconnect. You know, as you get older, it gets a little bit harder to talk with your friends, especially friends from a long time ago. So sometimes when you have some spare time, you decide to reconnect with friends. You might give them a phone call. You might send them an email. You might get together. Okay, did you hear all those? You could give them a phone call. You could send them an email. You could get together in person and just to enjoy each other's company. So you might reconnect with people who you haven't talked to for a while. This is something generally older people do, but I do know that if you're in your mid-20s, or, you know, when you're in school, eventually school ends and people go their separate ways. That's how we say it in English. People go their separate ways. And sometimes it's nice to reconnect with people. And you might just hang out with friends. I know for someone my age, when I was younger and when I wasn't married and didn't have kids, I saw my friends a lot. Nowadays, it's a little more challenging. I have a job. I have to provide for my family. I'm quite busy. It's hard for me to find time to hang out with my friends. In fact, we used to go see a movie once or twice a year, and we haven't even done that lately. So this is maybe something I should do this winter. I should maybe go see a movie with my friends, because there's a couple of them. There's one friend I see quite often. There's a couple I haven't seen for a while. So that would be fun. Learn a skill. So this is similar to take up a hobby, but hobbies can be relaxing. Hobbies can be where you learn a skill, but the actual learn a skill or learn a new skill means you're learning something useful. This person is maybe learning how to do woodworking. Maybe they're making a shelf or a chair or something out of wood. You could learn you could do pottery. You could learn how to make things out of clay on the thing that spins when you make stuff out of clay. Spindle? Not sure what it's called. And then fire it in an oven. So you could learn to fix things. You could learn to make things. You could learn a skill, something that's helpful in life. Learning English would fall under this category as well. We consider speaking English as a second language as a good skill to have. So you might decide you're going to learn a skill. And just so you know, there are some hobbies that aren't skills. Like flying a kite isn't really considered a skill. Reading a book for pleasure, like for enjoyment, or watching movies as a hobby isn't really a skill. But sometimes you're actually learning how to use tools or how to make something or fix something. You could join a league. So this is a little different as well than taking up a hobby. So I could start bowling. This is the game of bowling as a hobby. Maybe I go with friends once a month and I go bowling. But if I join a league, it means I'm probably going once a week. It means I'm competing against other people and I'm trying to win the season. There's probably a season. So you could join a tennis league. You could join a football league. You could join a bowling league. Generally, this means Jen played in a volleyball league a few years ago. Generally, this means you're playing some kind of sport or some kind of competitive activity. Like you can join a darts league where you throw darts as well. Yeah, I have not been in a league for a very long time. I was in a soccer league, like an amateur soccer league many, many years ago, like 25 years ago when I could still run fast. But you might decide, hey, I really like bowling or I really like throwing darts. I'm going to join a league and every Tuesday night, I'm going to go and compete against other people. You might decide to renovate. So this is something Jen and I have done in the past. We're not planning to do it this winter. We've spent most of our renovation budget on new windows for parts of our house. But you might decide that one room in your house, you want to change things. Maybe the walls are getting old and have holes in them. Maybe it just needs a coat of paint. Maybe you need to replace the windows and the wood that goes around the windows. Maybe you just want it to look a little nicer. So you decide to renovate. Renovations tend to cost a bit of money. They usually cost more money than what you were expecting, but it usually makes that room in your house much nicer. Maybe you want to put new cupboards in your kitchen. Maybe you want to put a new sink in your bathroom. All of that would be considered small renovations. So you are changing how your house looks. You might just want to rearrange. So this is much simpler and much cheaper, but you might have a room in your house. Let's say when you go to your living room, maybe the couch and some tables and plants and maybe a TV have all been in the same spot for many, many years. You might decide to rearrange. Jen and I do this quite often in the winter. In January, we're like, hey, we're kind of bored with how this room is arranged. Let's move the couch to this side. Let's put the plants closer to the window. Let's not have a TV in this room. Let's make this room a room for quiet reading or for conversation. So you might decide to rearrange a room so that it looks different. And then you might even do a little bit of, not sure I would call it a renovation, but some touch-ups. Like a coat of paint is probably a very, very minor renovation. I'm not sure I would even call it that. Although I think I did in the last slide, but you might just decide to rearrange a room. And then we also have a phrase to spruce up. You might decide to spruce up a room, or you might spruce up your kitchen table and chairs. This might mean you paint them, maybe you sand them, maybe you just clean them really well. Maybe you have a wobbly chair that you fix. You're just sprucing things up a bit so that they are more usable. I'm trying to think of something else I might spruce up. It's kind of a funny phrase, isn't it? It means it's more than just cleaning. Like if I was to sell a car, I might spruce up the car before I sell it. That means I'm going to clean it really well. I'm going to maybe fix the window that doesn't work. I'm going to try and make the car as new as possible, or as new looking as possible. You might just rest. I know for some people, especially people who have very, very physically demanding jobs, like my son mows lawns. He has a lawn mowing business. It's a very physical job. So he has to have muscles, and he walks a lot, 25, 30,000 steps a day. So usually when he has a bit of spare time, he will rest. So one thing is he doesn't mow lawns in the winter. So he usually takes a couple weeks to just rest, because I think it's a very physically demanding job. So that's a new phrase maybe for some of you. I do not have a physically demanding job. As a teacher, I do not lift things very often. I don't carry things. I don't push things. I am not going to become Arnold Schwarzenegger by teaching high school. Maybe I carry my laptop to class. But if you work in the construction industry, or if you have a job in a factory where you are always lifting things, we say it's a physically demanding job. So this is a relatively new one. You might do some meal prep. So this is something that I hadn't heard about till about 3 or 4 years ago. Meal prep is when you prepare meals in advance for a time in your life when you might be busy. So this person is making meals probably for the next 5 days. It's a little bit boring, but it's also very efficient. And usually when you do meal prep, you're preparing meals that you can freeze and then heat up later. So I know one of my colleagues at school makes breakfast burritos. He's very busy in the morning. His wife and him both have jobs, and they're on their way out the door. So they made breakfast burritos. So they got like a tortilla, and it has egg and sausage and cheese and other things in it. And they make these all in advance for a whole month, and then they freeze them. And then they can grab one and microwave it every morning. So you might do some meal prep. Jen and I do this a little bit, in the sense that sometimes on the weekend, when we're really busy, we might prepare a lot of different kinds of meat, like hamburger and chicken, and freeze it to use in meals for the coming week. But if you have spare time and you know you're going to be busy, you might do some meal prep in order to get ready for that busy time. Hey, let's go to members only chat mode. Let me get that turned on. Let me see here. If you are one of the people who is wondering what is members only chat, first of all, don't go away. The lesson will continue in about 9 or 10 minutes. This is a time where members can ask questions directly in the chat. I will continue, of course, to answer questions from the form. Let me get that up on the screen in a moment. Let's see here. Let me get that on the screen. And if you're wondering about memberships, if you look in the description below. Oh, what happened? My question didn't show up on the... Oh, there it is. That's not my question. Yes, it is. Okay. If you're interested in memberships, there's a join button. If you click it, you'll get some information. But basically, you'll get a lesson planned for the week on Mondays. Usually, most Wednesdays, members only video, about 42 to 45 times a year. This past week, there wasn't one because I wasn't feeling well. You get your name in green during a live English lesson, and you can ask questions during the chat, and you get a little crown beside your name. So from the chat, Hafiez says to Brent, yes, Unchained Melody, famous song in the movie. Love that song. Brent says, Gladiator 2 looks like a good movie to see in the theater. Yeah, so Hafiez and Brent having a conversation there. Gladiator 2 might be a little bit violent. We'll have to see. I'm not sure if I want to see it on the big screen or just at home. By the way, we often use the word big screen to talk about seeing a movie in the theater. Are you going to see Gladiator 2 on the big screen or at home? So Wanda says, hi, Teacher Bob. In my spare time, I've been studying history of art. Have you ever thought about studying this subject? Thanks a lot. So I did have an art history class in college. I found it quite fascinating. I do often read on Wikipedia about history and art. It still is something I like to learn about, but I'm not at the point yet where I would dedicate all my time to one subject area. Hafiez says, anything with Denzel Washington I will watch, and rhinos fighting gladiators. Heck yeah. Yeah, I'm sure that will be quite interesting. Lolly Lolly says, is learning English considered as a free time activity? So it depends why you're doing it. So let's say I was learning English and I was going to go work in an English speaking country. I would consider it a necessity. Like, I have to take this night class and I have to study English. So it would be something you're doing for work or for your own gain. But if you're someone like most people here, you're learning it because maybe you want to travel and you want to be able to speak English, or you're learning it because maybe it's just something that's interesting to you. Then it would be considered a free time activity. Yes. So it depends on the intention. Key Park says, I did nothing, just sat there staring blankly, sometimes in spare time. I love doing nothing in my spare time. Not entirely true. I like doing nothing outside. Like, I like sitting on the bench outside in my spare time. Tara says, thank you, dear teacher, for a very interesting topic. No problem. Brent says, Denzel Washington doesn't make a bad movie. I really like The Equalizer. Is that what it was called? The Equalizer? And the second one? Is there a third one? Yeah, and the third one. I think there's a third one. Those are good movies. Freddie Wolf, hi Bob. Thanks for everything. I guess that there haven't been any snow on your property right now. No. Do you have any high hills or mountains nearby to be able to ski if this would be your big passion? We can go north to go skiing, but the slopes aren't nearly as big as what you would see if I went out west. So yes, there is skiing to the north of us, and there is skiing in New York State, which is close to me. We call it upstate New York, which means the northern part of New York. But the mountains aren't nearly as big as what you would see in parts of France or in Western Canada. Yigathan says, we're looking for some hints about your upcoming videos. Oh, yeah, I'm plumb out of ideas, so I don't know what the next one will be about. It'll be a mystery. I'm down to, so I have lists of ideas, and then in my spreadsheet, I have for sure, like, really good ideas that I'm going to do. And then I have partial ideas, and then I just have like topic. And I'm down to all of the for sure ones. That list is done. I think the last for sure one was talking about money and talking about your phone. Those were for sures. But something will come to me. It always does. But there will be a video Tuesday for sure. Lolly says, thanks, Bob, for your answer. No problem. Rugby lover. When I was working as a Japanese elementary school teacher, teachers needed physical strength because many things to do. In Canada, what is the difference between Japan and Canada? Japanese schools have clubs. Oh, so that's a good question. In Canada, schools, high schools, have clubs and sports. So my school has a choir if you like to sing. You can be in a band if you want to play in a band. There's a video gaming club. We used to have a chess club. There's a photography club. So there are clubs for those kinds of things. And then you can play sports at school as well for the school team. So you can play volleyball, basketball, badminton, those kinds of things. John says, hello, Bob. No question today, just listening and learning. Last Friday was impossible to be here, but I already watched the video. Just so you know, it's all good with my baby and wife. Awesome. Good to hear. And then John says, don't forget to give a thumbs up. Thanks, John, for that reminder. Hafiez, I used to mod iPods back in the day during my spare time. Remember iPods? Yeah, basically a phone that couldn't phone anywhere but could play music. That's how I remember it. It kind of looked like a phone, the one version. Buying parts from eBay and modding them. Nowadays, I do some bonsaiing. Oh, like miniature trees. Very cool. Relaxing, but just stressful if the plant dies. I'm sure that would definitely be stressful if the plant died. Okay, let me get a question on the screen here. I think I have one ready to go. For some reason, when I click it, it doesn't pop up right away. So now I have to talk for a split second. Maybe I'll have a sip of water. Oh, did it just pop up? Did I break the question form for good now? Oh, there. Oh, I think I know what's happening. Yes. Okay. Hobart, enjoy your day, Teacher Bob. Always spare my time. Oh, I always use my spare time to drink a cup of tea. Do you like to drink tea? I do. It's yummy. It's tasty. I don't really drink coffee unless it's decaf, so I like drinking tea. From Mikhailo, could you clarify the difference between remind and remember? Also borrow and lend, and the difference in pronunciation W and V. So in English, if I want something, I use a V. I want something. If I go on a high mountain, I can view the city. So there's your difference. When you remind someone of something, you're telling them, like if Jen reminds me to go to the grocery store, she wants me to remember to go to the grocery store. And then borrow means if I borrow, I am getting money from my brother. If I lend my brother money, I'm giving him some money with the intention of having that money come back. Okay, let's see here. Freddie Wolf. Awesome Possum says happy as. Freddie Wolf. Bob, when your kids were still very young, did you arrange one of your rooms in a playroom? Yes. So that they could play without the risk of breaking anything and leaving kind of a mess with their tools, with their toys, basically. Yes. The back room of our house is a very nice room right now with couches and chairs, but it used to be half of it was the playroom. So there were toys everywhere all the time, and we tried to keep it as clean as possible. Ralph says the iPod modifications reminded me about the old Nokia phones. I converted from green keyboard display light to blue in the day. Yes, I'm that old. Very cool. You must have been very hip with your blue keypad. Hafiz says to Freddie Wolf, that can be something John Wedge could take notes on. Yes. John says, yes, I read and was thinking about it. Yes. Having a dedicated playroom, if you have room, is very, very nice. Okay. Let's turn off members only chat and let's get back to the lesson. We'll go to subscriber mode. Let me check. Yeah, I'm going to leave the questions to the end. There's quite a few questions that are off topic and I don't mind answering them. Yigathan says, how can we use AI to learn English faster or reinforce our knowledge? So here's one thing that you can do with AI. You can ask AI to make a quiz for you. You can ask AI to make a small dictionary for you. So let's say you watch an English lesson and you have the transcript, okay? Members on my channel get a copy of the transcript. So if you have the transcript, you could say to AI, make a dictionary of the 20 most difficult words for me, and it will make a dictionary. Or you could say, make a quiz based on what is said in this transcript. So there's many ways. I should do a video someday on it, but there are many ways to use AI to help practice your English. I don't know if it will speed up your English learning, but there are some AI tutors that might help with that. Okay, where are we at? Meal prep. Let's continue here. Self-improvement. So self-improvement refers to any activity that you do to make yourself a better person. So self-improvement might be working out so that you're stronger. Self-improvement might be reading one book every month. Self-improvement might be reading a self-help book to help you with something you're not good at. Self-improvement might be thinking about something you don't do well and learning how to do it better. Let's say I wasn't very good at communicating. Let's say I was a boss at a workplace. Self-improvement for me might be learning how to manage my employees better by communicating better. So anytime you make yourself a better person, we call it self-improvement. It usually means you're going to read a book to become better at something or take a class, but you are going to improve yourself. You could also reinvent yourself. Now, this is a little more extreme. Let's say I decided to reinvent myself. That might mean that I buy all new clothes. I stop wearing blue button-up shirts with short sleeves. I grow my beard really long and I grow my hair out. That would be me reinventing myself. Maybe I sell my minivan and I buy a sports car. So basically, I'm becoming, in a small way, a slightly different person. But some people reinvent themselves in a good way. Let's say you didn't go to college and you decide you're going to reinvent yourself. Maybe you have long hair, a beard. Whenever you have a job, you quit after a while. You decide, I'm going to reinvent myself. I'm going to become a mechanic. I'm going to go to school for 2 years. I'm going to shave my hair nice and short. I'm going to shave my beard, or I'm going to cut my hair short and shave my beard. And I'm going to reinvent myself. So again, definitely more extreme than self-improvement. But if you reinvent yourself, you change drastically what you look like and what you do. You might this should say sort through your clothes, but you can say sort your clothes. There's a slightly different connotation. When you sort through your clothes, it might mean that you're putting the clothes you want to keep on one side and putting the clothes that you don't wear anymore and want to get rid of in a box. Usually once every 2 years, I sort through my clothes. I find the clothes that I don't wear anymore and I usually donate them to a thrift store. But definitely this is something that I enjoy. I enjoy this when I'm done doing it. I don't enjoy doing it all the time, but it results in more closet space and more room in your drawer if you sort through your clothes. I need to do this this winter. I have a few shirts that you've probably noticed I haven't worn any recently because they're starting to get small holes. The fabric is so thin. Yeah. I'm just looking at Hafia saying, Bob wears sleeveless and rides a Harley. If I started to wear sleeveless shirts, drive a Harley Davidson motorcycle, it would certainly be me reinventing myself. That would be a completely different look. You might travel. This is one that you might have guessed. It's hard to travel when you're busy. If you are a full-time student, if you have a full-time job, and if you don't have a lot of spare time, it can be hard to find time to travel. So many people, when they have spare time, will travel and see different parts of the world. You might make plans. So this is kind of a funny one. It sounds very generic, but we often in English say, are you making plans for the weekend? Do you have plans for the weekend? Oh, I'm going to make plans for Christmas break because I have 2 weeks off. What are you going to do in your spare time? Oh, we made plans to visit a lot of people. So it simply refers to thinking about something you're going to do in the future and putting it on a calendar. Jen and I made plans for this coming weekend. We're going to Toronto, and we're not seeing the Taylor Swift concert. That's not why we're going to Toronto. I don't have tickets, but we are going to Toronto. So we made plans to do that in our spare time. I would never do this, but you might try something new. And again, this is similar to, learning a new skill, taking up a hobby, et cetera, et cetera. But you might just try something new. When Brent from American English with Brent visited me over a year and a half ago, we tried something new for me, ziplining, brand new. I'm pretty sure it was new for Brent. But sometimes when you have spare time, you're like, oh, I've never tried hang gliding before. I've never gone scuba diving before. I should try something new. And then you might host something. So this is an interesting word. You might go to a party. You might go to someone's house to play games. You might go to someone's house because you're in a book club. The person who is hosting is the person who is inviting people to their house. If I have a party, I would say to my colleagues, oh, I'm going to host a party this weekend. Do you want to come? If I was in charge of a book club, I might say, oh, I host a book club once a week at my house. And people come and they talk about books. This person, I'm going to guess, maybe this is like a wine and cheese club. And I think the girl in the middle is the host. So maybe once a month, her friends come over and they try some really nice wine or have some cheese. So when you host something, you plan it, and it usually happens at your house. Okay. It's usually something that's happening where you live, at your house or apartment. You might just get some fresh air. This is one of my favorite things to do. Just be outside. When you're in a house or in an apartment, you're not breathing fresh air. But when you're outside in a park or out in nature, you can breathe some fresh air. So when you get some fresh air, it usually makes you a lot happier. You might knock something off your to-do list. I'm sure all of you have a to-do list. It's a list of all of the chores and errands that you need to do that day or that week or that month or that year. And so when you have some spare time, it's nice to look at the to-do list and knock something off the list, to do something from your to-do list. Last week, my to-do list said, unhook the irrigation pump and put it in the house so it doesn't freeze. So I got that done. Also on my to-do list was to have the snow tires put on each of the vans. So we had that done as well. And then lastly, you might break a bad habit. I'm not sure if any of you do this bad habit, but sometimes when you're really busy, it's hard to break a bad habit. So there's a tiny little spider right here. Sometimes if you are someone who, for me, I eat badly when I'm really busy. And so when summer comes and I have more spare time, it's easy for me to break that bad habit. It's a lot easier for me to eat healthy in the summer. But this is how humans work, right? When you are working full-time, when you are in school full-time, it can be stressful. And then you might have bad habits like this one that are hard to break. But sometimes when you have some spare time, you can figure out a way to break that bad habit. Hey, let me finish off the questions. Yeah, there's no way I would go on a hang glider, John Wedge. The zip line was as much for me. Hockey says, I usually use AI when I read and write. It's really helpful, and I tend to ask to learn the terms or words that are not familiar in the passage. Also, I can do deep dives. Hey, Beige Blur, I'm going to give you a little bit of a timeout here, I think. Put user in timeout, 5 minutes. There we go. A little too much spamming happening there. Let's finish off the questions, and then I need to go to work. Let's do that. From Admir, hi Teacher Bob, how's it going? My question is, what is the difference between the verbs to observe and to track? Thanks. When I observe something, it means I see it. I observe students misbehaving in the hallway. I observe snow falling outside. It's not actually snowing, it's raining. When I track something, I probably write it down. Like if I was to track rainfall, it means I would write down to November 1st, 7 millimeters, November 7th, 8 millimeters. I am keeping track. I am tracking it. So a little bit different. From Fritz, hi Bob, I hope you're doing well. Could you explain the difference between spare time and spend time, please? These words sound similar. When I have spare time, I like to spend time with friends. When I have spare time, I like to spend time resting. So spare time refers to time where you have nothing else to do. You have no obligations. You don't need to work or go to school or make a meal. You can do whatever you want. And then spend time is describing how you're using it. Like I spend time with friends. I spend time resting. You're just describing how you're using the time. From Mohammed, I want to know how I can communicate with native speakers. If you are looking to practice with native speakers, I recommend Preply. There's a link below. That is your best bet. I think I get to practice my timeouts today. This is fun. There we go, Nudie. It's probably just the last person I timed out coming back with a different name. Yes, find a native speaker you can hire. That's the best way. Flum Claren, hello teacher. I am in a French-speaking country. What can I do to enhance my English? Thanks. The same thing. You have to go online using Cambly or italki or Preply. Find a way to hire an English tutor and practice half an hour a week, an hour a week. From Max, how long have you been learning English? I am a native English speaker. I have been learning English since I was born. The moment I could hear my parents talking, I started learning English. From Yayi, please explain reinvent. Reinvent means to change who you are. So again, the best example came from the chat. If I bought a motorcycle, grew my hair long, started wearing shirts with no sleeves, went to the gym for a year and put on 50 pounds of muscle, you would say, oh, Bob's trying to reinvent himself. He's changing how he looks and who he is. So, and this can be a positive or a negative thing. Yeah, I think I'm gonna wrap this up. I have one more question here. Dear Bob, hope all is well. Lay and lie, do these mean the same in modern English? I'm going to have you look it up, okay? Lie can mean to tell something that's not true. And I can take this lens cap and I can lay it on the table and I could go lie on the couch. But we sometimes flip lay and lie informally. I could say I'm going to go lay on the couch as well. Okay, I'm feeling a bit rushed here. I'm not late for work, am I? No, I'm fine. Anyways, thanks for watching. Remember, this lesson will come out in a shorter version in a few days. I will remove all of the viewer questions and me with my extra talking and put together a 20 to 27 minute lesson where you can review everything you have learned. This is an important step in your learning process. You can just listen to it in the background if you need to, or watch it again, or watch small parts of it that you didn't understand. So Michael, member for 20 months. Very cool. Thanks for that. Brett, I don't have to work today. I called in sick. Don't tell my principal. I'm going to New York City. So I hope your principal's not watching. But if your job is like mine, there's a little bit of flexibility in what we do. Like I said in a live stream before, anything a teacher does is work. It always is. Like I got my car repaired and I talked about it in business class. Everything you do is work. Anyways, thanks everyone. You're awesome. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you Tuesday with a new lesson. Bye. Let me just make sure that